All right, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. My name is Jennifer Baker-Jones and I'm the chairperson of the Woburn Democratic City Committee, the WDCC. I'm excited to welcome many friends tonight and to see several new faces join us. I hope you all enjoy this evening's program. Closed captioning has been enabled for this meeting. To see the text on your screen, you'll need to use your Zoom controls. Please note that it is a computerized transcription and might not be an accurate reflection of the spoken dialogue this evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. This is the Woburn Democratic City Committee's Candidates Night. We are pleased to welcome all of the candidates running as Democrats in statewide contested campaigns. They are seeking the endorsement of the Massachusetts Democratic Party. We will also be joined by our all-Democratic State House delegation and Middlesex District Attorney, all of whom are running for re-election this year. Thank you to all of the candidates who will be with us tonight. We appreciate the time that you are spending with Woburn Democrats to share your campaign priorities and goals. I'd like to thank former State Representative and WDCC Secretary Carol Donovan, WDCC Ward 1 Chairperson Andrew Lipset, and WDCC Ward 4 Chairperson Anthony Langone for their help in making the arrangements for this evening's event. Each candidate has 4 minutes to address the audience tonight, and our full program of 18 candidates will be 1.5 hours long. In the chat window, you may see information shared by the campaigns. They've been invited to share the ways that you can get involved in supporting the candidates in their races. Time doesn't allow for questions to the candidates this evening, but please reach out to the campaigns with any questions that you have. The Woburn Democratic City Committee will host our annual caucuses this coming Saturday, March 5th. We will elect delegates to represent Woburn in the Democratic State Convention in Worcester in June. The caucuses will be held virtually by Zoom in 2 events, with Ward 1, 2, 3, and 6 meeting at 9:30 a.m. and Wards 4, 5, and 7 meeting at 12:30 p.m. Doors open 30 minutes before our meeting time, and all of those wishing to run as a delegate or vote in the caucus must be present by 15 minutes past our posted meeting time. All Woburn Democrats are welcome to join us at the caucuses. Students over the age of 16 by February 4th, 2022, and pre-registered to vote can join us to run in the caucuses. Please bring a copy of your voter registration or same-day registration with you. Please visit our website, woburndems.org, to register at the Zoom links or for more information about our caucuses. If you have questions about the caucuses, please email woburndems@gmail.com. I'd like to share just a quick video with you. I'm going to do a really fast share screen so that you can see a video about how your participation makes a big difference.
After 7 years of divided government in Massachusetts, the era of Charlie Baker is ending, and with it comes the potential for Massachusetts to become a truly progressive state that champions equity in healthcare, affordable housing, education, sustainable energy, transportation, criminal justice. But to achieve these goals requires an engaged and empowered community.
The power of the people has always been greater than the people in power. So if we are going to seize the opportunity this moment affords us, it will be because of you.
When we think about a winning strategy for a Democratic ticket in Massachusetts, we must recognize that it ultimately comes down to us.
Democracy is not a spectator sport. Become part of the change you want to see. Get involved. Contact your local Democratic committee.
Great. All right. So thank you, everyone, and thank you again for joining us tonight and for the candidates joining us. Just a reminder, the Woburn Democratic Committee does not endorse candidates until after the fall primaries. So just a note there. And I am excited to welcome our first candidate with us. I believe she's joined us running for governor. Is Attorney General Maura Healey. So I will turn it over to you. Are we able to see if Mara was able to unmute?
Jennifer, I see something, a note in the chat saying that she's not quite on yet, but she'll be.
Oh,
here
okay, perfect. Okay, so she'll be with us for in a second. Okay, thank you, Michelle. I appreciate it as I'm trying to keep my eye on all of the things. Thank you. I think we will, if we don't have Mara Healey with us yet, we'll run to our second speaker for tonight. I believe State Senator Sonia Chang Diaz is with us right now, and she is also running for governor.
Hi, Jennifer. Can you guys hear me?
We can. Thank you.
Yes. As soon as you guys called me up, my 6-year-old ran in, so I was about to have a BBC dad moment. But it's good to be with you guys. Thank you for having me this evening. So I'll dive right in because I know that you're on a tight agenda tonight. You can see right there in the Zoom tile, my name is Sonia Chang Diaz, and as you can glimpse there, I'm a mom, and I'm a former public school teacher, and I'm Massachusetts' first Latina and first Asian American state senator. And I'm running for governor very simply because every day it is getting harder and harder for families to live in our state, right? Housing costs are going through the roof. We've got some of the worst traffic congestion in the nation and the fastest growing student debt load. Healthcare costs, childcare costs are getting more and more expensive. And hanging over all of it, the consequences of climate change are just barreling down on us. And the truth is, leaders on Beacon Hill have been telling working families to wait for too damn long for meaningful change on these problems. Now, the fire that I bring to this race comes from my past, working as a public school teacher in one of the poorest school districts in our state, in the city of Lynn. Every day in Lynn, I came face to face with the way that the gap between have and have not communities and Beacon Hill's willful inattention to that gap narrowed the life choices for my kids. And the fire also comes from my past 13 years as a state senator, fighting like hell alongside some of you. And I see my sisters from the House and Senate. And also I want to give a shout out to my former State House sister, Carol Donovan, who it's great to see on the Zoom here. But fighting, really hard like hell, indeed, alongside many of you guys for bold transformational change. And in that work, I have seen firsthand that we have still got too many people in government who are more concerned with holding on to power rather than doing something with it. And that is why it is getting so hard to live and work and raise a family here. I am running to change that because over the past 13 years, we have also shown that we can win big. $1.5 billion in progressive education funding, criminal justice reform, police accountability, LGBTQ rights. And actually, I want to just mention here, I looked up the numbers for Woburn, and out of that $1.5 billion in progressive education funding that we're going to be getting into our schools because of the Student Opportunity Act, which I fought 5 years to get passed, this coming fiscal year in 2023, fiscal 23, Woburn's per pupil aid from the state is going to go from what would have been $30 per pupil without the Student Opportunity Act to $684 per pupil this coming fiscal year under the Student Opportunity Act. Now that is change that families in Woburn can take to the bank. So we have shown that we do not have to accept the world as it is presented to us. I have seen real systemic change happen before in our Commonwealth. And that is how I know that we can provide equality, debt-free education to every one of our kids from birth into adulthood. We can pass a Green New Deal in our state to win the fight against climate change and create tens of thousands of new good paying jobs at the same time. And we can close our racial wealth divide, rebuild the middle class, and make it so that our young people's economic fortunes look better and not worse than their parents. Together, we have already shown that that future is possible. We just need to stand together. We got to see each other's fights as our own. And we got to elect a governor who does not just say the right words, but who has shown that she will take action on tough fights, even when it is not politically convenient, in order to deliver that transformational change that our families need. So if that is the kind of future that you guys want to grab with both hands, and one that is worth rolling up your sleeves and fighting for, I am asking you to join me. I'm asking for your support at convention, and I'm asking you to sign up to join our team at soniachangdiaz.com. I will just close by saying this. I did not get into this race, my friends, because I thought it was going to be easy, or because I saw a good career opportunity. I got into it because I have stood on the front lines with families across this state for my whole life. And I know the urgency of the moment that we're living in, and I know the future that we can build together. I'm excited to build that future with all of you and partner with you on this growing campaign. So thank you so much for having me tonight.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're really, really happy to have you come out to Woburn and wish you the best with your campaign.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd now like to introduce our next candidate, who I introduced once but didn't realize that she wasn't quite with us yet. So now introducing the other candidate for governor, Attorney General Maura Healey.
Jennifer, thank you so much. I am grateful for the opportunity to be with all you wonderful folks from Woburn tonight. Thank you for all that you do for our party. Thank you for the time that you put in as volunteers, and really you are the fabric, the backbone of our Democratic Party. And I'm here tonight excited to be running for governor. I hope to earn your support in the caucus and in the weeks and the months ahead. Some of you know me, of course, as Attorney General, but a little bit more about my background. I grew up in Seacoast, New Hampshire. My parents were from Newburyport originally, settled there. After my parents got divorced, my mom raised the 5 of us alone. She went back to work as a school nurse. She's still nursing today. My stepdad later joined the family. He was a high school history teacher and coach, head of his local union. They taught us the values of hard work and teamwork. I waitressed my way through high school, college, and parts of law school, working at Hampton Beach. I came down for college, did a stint overseas playing professional basketball for a couple of years as a point guard, and then returned to law school here. And that led me to be chief of the Civil Rights Division in the Attorney General's office, and then ultimately led me to run for Attorney General. And I have tried to center that office as the people's law firm on meeting the needs of residents in this state. That's meant protecting consumers and tenants and immigrant communities and workers and our small businesses. It's meant not being afraid to stand up to powerful interests like Purdue Pharma and the Sacklers, or ExxonMobil for lying about climate change. It's led us to fight for reproductive justice in our state and fight against attacks on abortion nationally. I went after predatory lenders who were raking it in on the backs of exploited student borrowers and homeowners. And we put equity at the center of everything that we do. And I will tell you as governor, my formula is not going to change. I will not be afraid. I will also be a partner and a collaborator. That's how we get things done. As I listen to people around the state, right now, I think our next governor needs to lead with sureness and a vision and a strong agenda for delivering results in this state. This state is the best state in the country, but too many families are just not sharing in the prosperity right now. I want to grow economic prosperity. I want to grow that mobility. What does that mean? Well, Massachusetts, we need to address the high cost of living in the state. We've got a lot of federal funds coming in, but we need to make sure we're using that to invest in infrastructure, in transit, in housing. Housing's a big issue right now for so many across the state. We need to fix our childcare system, which, by the way, is keeping so many women from returning to the workforce right now. We need to address the mental health crisis, which is only exacerbated through this pandemic. And I will work to fix that as governor so that no child, no person is without access to the behavioral health services that they need when they need it. And I will be the most aggressive governor in the country when it comes to addressing climate change. The challenges are daunting in many respects, especially as we watch our televisions and see what's happening in Ukraine, and our heart goes out to the poor folks there. But I think it's all the more reason why we need strong, principled leadership out of the corner office in Massachusetts. I believe I bring that, and I believe that we can get things done. It's about teamwork. It's about collaboration. It's about a vision. and it's about getting results. And I intend to be a governor who does just that. I ask you for your support in the caucus, and I hope and look forward to being with you in person soon at events out and about the community. But again, thank you for all that you do, and thank you for having me on tonight.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us and spending the time with us this evening. We really appreciate seeing both candidates for governor join us tonight.
Terrific.
Thank you.
All right, go Tanners. Bye-bye.
Yes. All right, we will go on to our first statewide candidate for lieutenant governor. Joining us is Mayor Kim Drescal.
Hi, folks.
Hello.
Hey, folks. Hey, sorry. Thanks for letting us practice seatbelt democracy as we room and zoom around the Commonwealth. Much appreciated. I'm Mayor Kim Drescal. I'm a candidate for lieutenant governor, and so pleased to be with you this evening. Thanks for carving out time to allow us to zoom into your homes, your living rooms, your offices, your kitchens. Really appreciate the chance to be with you. I'm a candidate for lieutenant governor. I'm really excited about the opportunity to take the know-how and experience serving as mayor in Salem to a statewide position, particularly one that is so focused on helping communities really grow and thrive. Just a little bit about my background. I'm actually not a native of Salem. My dad is from Lynn. He was a chef in the Navy. That's where he met my mom, who is a native of Trinidad. I was born in Hawaii, lived on both coasts, and I came to Salem to go to college. I fell in love with the city, fell in love with my husband, Nick. He is a second generation bricklayer, and we tease that he's putting his political science degree to good use, throwing brick and blocks in throughout the North Shore and greater Boston area. We've raised our 3 kids in a really welcoming, inclusive community and feel very fortunate to have done so. Early in my career, I worked for the city of Chelsea as they came out of receivership, first as their chief legal counsel and then as their deputy city manager. Really taught me the benefit of good government and who pays the price when there's a failure in leadership. I feel fortunate to have taken those skill sets to the city of Salem, my hometown, my adopted hometown, where I've run for mayor, and fortunate to have been reelected 5 times. The city of Salem today is not the city of Salem it was when I was first elected. We had all kinds of challenges, multi-million-dollar deficits, institutionalized bad practices. We've worked hard to turn that around, been able to make historic investments in schools and parks and infrastructure. We're now a hip, historic, vibrant destination for visitors and residents alike. But we didn't do it alone. Some of the most challenging issues that our Commonwealth is facing, from affordable housing to strengthening our schools, and kids certainly have been some of the biggest victims of our pandemic. Tackling climate change. As a coastal community, we know firsthand what we're seeing from storm surge and rising sea levels. And certainly COVID response and recovery and what the next phase of this pandemic is going to bring us. Mayors like me have been on the front lines of all of those battles. And I know firsthand that we can't do it alone. We need not just a partner in a state, but a strategic ally to help us tackle these challenges. There's a lot of innovation happening at the local level. There's a lot of good ideas, but it needs a strong state partner. And that's why I'm excited about serving as lieutenant governor. I think there's an opportunity from someone who's part of the get stuff done wing of government. There's no hiding in a job like mine. There's direct accountability and working on issues like affordable housing and schools. I chair the Salem School Committee as mayor of a gateway city where there's a diverse population. These are things I work on every day. They're not talking points. They're not policy theory ideas. They're real challenges, and we're working hard to try and address them. Having a strong state partner as we come out of this pandemic with some resources means we may not necessarily have to have a scarcity mindset, is going to enable us to operationalize new ways of doing business, impacting the communities that have been hit the hardest from across the Commonwealth. Whether you're in greater Boston or a hill town in Western Mass, that we all suffer some of the same challenges. And I'd love to be in a position to not just talk about solutions, but actually act on them. I think the lieutenant governor can be a convener working with a strong state, with a strong new governor in 2023, and be a real ally to our communities across the Commonwealth in ways that'll enable us to amplify and empower the good work that's happening. I'll close with this. I was welcoming some Cub Scouts into City Hall just 2 weeks ago, and they asked me, what did I like about being mayor? And I told them it's because I get to work on things that matter and make a real impact. It's that same sense of value that I bring to this race, an opportunity to work on things that matter and make a real impact. I think we have a chance to make history by not electing just one woman to the corner office, but electing 2. I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and get to work in service to communities. We know there are needs from infrastructure to schools to addressing housing, And I think someone who's been on the ground working on those issues can really bring power and amplify the efforts at the local level. That's what I hope to do as your next Lieutenant Governor. I'd be honored to have your support in this race. Thanks so much for the opportunity to be with you today. Definitely look forward to being in person, not driving on a road, talking to you. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you making the time to squeeze us in between the in-person visits. So thank you so much, and best of luck with your campaign.
Thank you.
I would now like to introduce our next Lieutenant Governor candidate, State Senator Adam Hines.
Hi, thanks. And how long are you giving each candidate?
4 minutes each. So we've kind of got like a squeak in between each one.
Okay, great. I'm impressed that you're even close to being on time. So nice job.
I know, I'm impressed myself.
Let me first just say thanks to all of you. It feels like a year and a month after our Capitol was attacked, and now we're almost to the State of the Union address. But you know, those types of things have shown that we really do need all of you to participate in democracy and make sure the infrastructure of our country is alive and well. So thanks for taking the time to do that tonight. You know, I'm currently a state senator for 52 municipalities, and I decided to run for Lieutenant Governor, quite frankly, because I'm convinced this is one of those rare moments in our history when you can take a generational step towards equity and expanded opportunity. But it's going to take folks who are not afraid to take on the big issues and ask the tough questions, leaders with a background of bringing people together. I spent nearly 10 years in the Middle East doing exactly that, working for the United Nations. I was involved in negotiations in Iraq, Jerusalem, and Syria. And I often joke that nothing prepares you for standing up for your region in the state Senate or leading on tough issues as Lieutenant Governor, quite like holding your ground when drafting exchanges in a ceasefire negotiation with the foreign minister of Syria, and especially at a time when they're attacking their own citizens. But I always wanted to get back home and take on the big issues here. So I took a leap, left the UN, and started a program in Pittsfield, working with high-risk kids, guys getting involved in violence. You very quickly see that it's not the actions of one kid, but it's often the generational impact of concentrated poverty and the like. I was then pulled to lead a second nonprofit related to mental health and job creation. And that meant the world to me because I saw firsthand how a shifting economy was impacting families throughout my region as we kind of moved away from the mills that dotted our rivers. And it impacted my own family. My dad left a tool manufacturing company at the age of 50, went back to school, and became a teacher and a coach and a proud MTA member. It's 7:30 on a Tuesday. He's 80 years old, and he's probably in the gym somewhere helping a kid with a jump shot. But I've drawn on all those experiences and the same problem-solving approach, and took that with me in the Senate, where I'm in my third term, currently leading our effort to reimagine Massachusetts post-pandemic, kind of lifting up the hood and saying, you know, what do we need to prepare for the workforce of the future, or why is it that certain sectors of the economy were hit first and longest when we had an economic downturn? I've taken on major efforts in green transportation, including starting a new train service between Pittsfield and a regional economic center. I'm working to ensure new vehicles purchased after 2030 are electric, with rebates to help with the purchase price. When schools in my district confronted enrollment decline, I created a new line item in the school district, in the state budget, to make sure every kid had a fair shot. I already represent more municipalities than anyone in this race, and in the state Senate, I represent and work closely with multiple mayors and 52 select boards and city councils, 25 school districts. And it gives you that sense that so many towns throughout the Commonwealth feel like they're overlooked, or, you know, whether it's a small town out here in Western Mass or certain neighborhoods in our downtowns. You know, I want to make sure that everyone feels like they're getting their fair shot and that we're all paying attention to them. And I'll maybe close with this. I became a father 9 months ago, and you know, when you're a new parent, it makes this work and this fight even more meaningful. For example, confronting climate change with the urgency of now, but certainly so that my son and his generation can merely exist. Fighting so this generation can experience social and racial justice differently. In fact, my son is a part of the migration story. My wife, Alicia, is Mexican-American, and her grandfather came to the US and drove trucks his entire life so that his granddaughter and everyone in his family could have opportunities available to them. And she's now a college professor and knocks it out of the park every single day. Yet that type of intergenerational mobility is almost unheard of today, according to the data. I want to restore that sense of opportunity to everyone. And I look forward to taking on that work with all of you. Thanks for giving me a few minutes. I look forward to earning your support either tonight or at the convention or in September. And thanks again, and good luck tonight.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time tonight, and hope that we'll be able to have you back in Woburn sometime in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, and good luck with your campaign. I think we were scheduled to have our next speaker be a candidate for Secretary of the Commonwealth, Tanisha Sullivan. I'm not sure that she's joined us just yet. I think she was coming out of another meeting. But I wonder if we can jump Secretary Bill Galvin. I know that you've already joined us. Would you mind speaking now?
Not at all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
I feel like I've been to Woburn so many times. I was with you in person back in November, but it's great.
I know. I'm glad we were able to squeeze that in before we went all virtual again.
Right. We never know, right? But it's great to be with you tonight. And I was thinking, as you know, and when I spoke in Woburn before, I was focused much on our election issues and the issues that I've been so committed to and the successes that we've had here in Massachusetts in expanding voter rights over the last couple of years. I don't think I could illustrate the significance of elections any more than the events of this historic night. We're watching a war in Europe that's caused by the fact that elections have been perverted in Russia to allow no one really to express their opinion, to allow a dictator to now take control of that country. And we're also seeing the courage of the Ukrainian people as a result of democracy. So I think the importance of a democracy and elections cannot be made any clearer by anything I would say. What we're seeing and what we know is happening illustrates the importance to us as a democracy, as perhaps the leading democracy in the world, not perhaps, in fact, to protect what we have. We all know what happened on January 6th. We all know what we experienced and have experienced since then with the deniers of the outcomes of those elections. Imagine tonight if Donald Trump was president instead of Joe Biden. Realize how important it was that that decision that was made and ratified by our Congress of Joe Biden's election, so critical to the future of the world at this particular moment in history. With that as a background, I want to speak to the importance of not only elections here in Massachusetts, but throughout our country. I'm very proud of the record I've compiled in running elections here in Massachusetts over many years, but in particular in 2020. In the middle of a pandemic, we introduced many reforms that we'd sought for many years. Expanded voting by mail, no excuse, early voting extensions, the opportunity for people to register online, automatic voter registration. And the result of those efforts was 3 record turnouts in the 2020 events that we had. We ran an honest, transparent election, and while many parts of the country struggled as they attempted to deal with the COVID crisis, we prevailed. No one questioned the outcome of our elections. I think it speaks to the importance of election administration and the critical future that it has to have in our country if we're to preserve our democracy. We've seen around the country how various Republican groups have limited voter rights. Today in Texas, another aspect of this historic night, today in Texas, we've seen the effects of some of the changes that they made that have disqualified voters, even voters of their own party, for ridiculous reasons. You have to be able to, first of all, understand how to administer elections, not just pass laws, but administer the elections. But you also have to be able to call out false claims of fraud. And I've done that. When Donald Trump famously claimed that busloads of Democrats from Massachusetts went to New Hampshire to steal New Hampshire from him in 2016, I called it out as the fraud that it was. And obviously it was dropped by Trump because he knew it wasn't true. We've seen the continuing effort to discredit elections and the processes that advance voter rights. We know as Democrats that when more people vote, it's better, not just for our party, but for the rights of all citizens. Everything we care about as Democrats, whether it's economic advancement, justice advancement, civil rights issues, is contingent upon the right to vote. And so protecting and advancing that right is extremely critical. I'm proud of many other things my office does, such as protecting people's financial security, helping pensioners get their retirement rights, our very active domestic violence protection program and our address confidentiality program. And I obviously will be speaking to all of those issues in the future. But tonight, I want to focus on the right to vote. And tonight, I want to speak to what my plans are for the next 4 years. I'm not asking to be rewarded for our past successes. I'm asking, in fact, to lead the effort. 2 years from tonight, exactly 2 years from tonight, we will be in the midst of our presidential primary process. That will be Super Tuesday of 2024. The importance of having not only somebody here in Massachusetts who can speak to the issues of election administration, but as the senior Democratic election official in the United States now, I intend to speak out, as I have, dealing with election administrators around the country, Democrats and Republicans. And I will tell you, many Republicans need somebody to help them speak out, because sometimes they are intimidated by their own party. I won't be intimidated. I can speak with the experience of success, with the experience of advancing voter rights. So my ask of you for the coming election is not to, as I said, reward me for what I've done and what we've done together, but to allow me to lead the fight going into 2022 and 2024. And I thank you once again very much for your courtesy and your attention. Have a great night.
Thank you so much, Secretary. Again, great to have you back with us in Woburn again. And best of luck with your campaign. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
We will now go to our second Secretary of the Commonwealth candidate, Tanisha Sullivan has joined us now.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Can I just confirm, how much time do I have?
4 minutes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It's good to be with you tonight. I am Tanisha Sullivan, candidate for Secretary of State. Just a little bit about me. I grew up in Brockton. My dad is a career public school educator. He spent 40 years in the Boston public schools. He started in BPS in 1974, September of 74, the start of school busing, and retired as a bus monitor, and retired in 2014 as a school leader at the John D. O'Brien. My mom is a small business owner. She started 3 businesses from our home in Brockton. 2 of them were focused on supporting working families by providing in-home daycare services. And the 3rd was created to help connect a growing Black-owned business community across New England. I'm an attorney. I'm in my 20th year of practice, and I'm the former Chief Equity Officer in the Boston Public Schools. I also have the honor of serving as the volunteer president for the NAACP Boston. I am a civil rights leader. I'm a civil rights leader who's worked deeply in and with communities and across the ideological spectrum to deliver real, meaningful progress and the advancement of economic, racial, and social justice. I know firsthand both the great opportunity that exists in our democracy, and I know her failures. And right now, I know that there are so many of us who are feeling disappointed, disconnected, and simply frustrated at the snail's pace of progress that we're experiencing from DC and also here in Massachusetts. It is time for us to accelerate our progress and to ensure that as we're knitting our democracy back together, that we're doing it in a way that allows for us to move forward together. I'm a civil rights leader, so I want to assure you that there is no one who will fight harder than me to ensure that we are advancing and protecting voting rights here in Massachusetts. And there is no one with a track record in civil rights like me in this race who will do more to protect and ensure that we have safe and secure elections. But I also know from working in and with community that a strong, expansive, and vibrant democracy that's working for all of us requires more. This moment demands more. We deserve more. And I believe that together we can deliver more. We can deliver more by way of cultivating a culture of civic participation, where all of us know how we can engage with our government to advance the type of quality of life that we all want to experience. I will work to ensure that our government is not only transparent and accountable, but that again, we know how we can help lead and guide what is happening in our government. And finally, I know that, and the data is clear, that a healthy democracy is an economically vibrant democracy. The reality is this office has failed to exercise its full power to meet the needs of working families across the Commonwealth, and specifically has failed to meet the needs of small businesses and our micro Main Street businesses that are the heartbeat of so many of our communities. And so as Secretary of State, I will activate the full power of this office to ensure that we are supporting our small businesses, that this office is not simply an office that you go to register your business, file your annual reports, and pay your fees, but that this is an office of opportunity for small businesses, connecting them to the vital resources they need to thrive. We deserve a strong democracy here in Massachusetts that is working for all of us. We deserve a vibrant democracy here in Massachusetts that is inclusive of all of us. And I believe that the time has come for us to roll up our sleeves and build that democracy together. I look forward to getting to know all of you more in the coming weeks and months. I do hope to earn your support, certainly in June at the Democratic Convention and also in September at the ballot box. If you'd like to learn more, I'm Tanisha Sullivan, candidate for Secretary of State. My website is tanishasullivan.com, and you can follow us across all of the social media platforms at Tanisha4MA. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate seeing you out in Woburn, even if it's virtual, but yeah, we hope so in person sometime soon. Thank you so much.
Good night.
All right, we will now go to our first candidate for Attorney General tonight. Before we do, I just wanted to mention that we will see a couple candidates for Lieutenant Governor a little later in our program, just for scheduling tonight. They had to book a little bit later. But we're going to jump to our first candidate for Attorney General, Andrea Campbell.
Can you hear me, Jennifer?
Yes.
Hi.
Hello, thank you.
So this is the hybrid world. You go to in-person, virtual. So I'm coming from you from a garage, and earlier was my car. Of course, I didn't want to miss it. So thank you all for being on tonight. Thank you for having me. I'm obviously Andrea Campbell, a candidate for Attorney General. And I jumped into the race, frankly, recognizing that even as we're on this Zoom, that many residents continue to struggle in Massachusetts. Many are very frustrated with government. But what I also know to be true is that we live in the best state in the nation. And I know this because I have lived it. I grew up in a family, in a childhood with incredible instability. My mom actually died when I was 8 months old, going to visit my father, who was incarcerated at the time. My father and my brothers cycled in and out of the prison system. And my twin brother, Andre, would pass away 10 years ago while in the custody of the Department of Correction. I am living proof that a girl who grew up in public housing in a family torn apart by incarceration, crime, and poverty and trauma could turn pain into purpose. And these hardships, but also the possibility for healing and hope, were the very reasons I went to college and law school. I'm the first in my family to go to college, the first in my family to go to law school, the first in my family to become a lawyer. I've dedicated my entire life to breaking these cycles for not my two boys, for other families, and ensuring every single resident in Massachusetts has access to the same opportunity I had so they too could fulfill their potential. And I've done this as an education attorney representing children for free in education cases, including students with disabilities, as an attorney for Governor Deval Patrick, as general counsel to a regional planning agency that covered 101 municipalities in Massachusetts, pushing for regional equity, and as Boston City Council president. All of this work combined was really about opportunity for residents. As Attorney General, I'm running because I firmly believe this office is more than just the chief law enforcement officer. It has the ability, the unique power, the tools, and the resources to ensure every family and their children have access to an excellent education. Every family has access to healthcare, physical and mental, a living wage, benefits, tools to grow their wealth, to stay in their home, tools to also, of course, make sure that they're doing better by the next generation, and to ensure that their communities in which they live are thriving or healthy or safe, all the tools to deal with racial disparities and so much more. I hope to become and earn the right to become your voice, your champion, your advocate, and I hope to earn your support during this caucus season, your vote at the convention and in September. Thank you so much for having me, even from a garage where someone just walked by and waved hello. So I'm really grateful to be on. And Jennifer, thank you and your team for making this so easy. I know it's a volunteer job, so thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much. It was wonderful to meet you, and I hope we'll have you in Woburn to meet you in person sometime soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone.
Best of luck. We will now go to our second Attorney General candidate, Shannon Liss Reardon.
All right, thank you so much, Jennifer. Hello, Woburn Democrats.
Hello.
So great to see you. Senator Friedman, great to see you. My name is Shannon Liss Reardon, and I'm running to be your next Attorney General. My career has been devoted to taking on the biggest challenges and delivering big results for regular people. I have used my entire legal career to use the law as a tool to improve people's lives. For the last 20 years, my entire legal career, I have represented working people. I've made national headlines, leading teams of lawyers taking on some of the largest corporations in America. And time and again, we've beaten the odds. We have won against corporations like Starbucks, FedEx, Uber, Amazon, IBM, my alma mater, Harvard University, which I have proudly sued at least 4 times. I have represented everyone from waitresses to janitors to construction workers to firefighters to Uber drivers to strippers, and helped them recover hundreds of millions of dollars that corporate America stole from them. This work has changed industries across Massachusetts and throughout the United States, and I am proud to have dedicated my career to standing up for the people against the powerful and winning. And that's exactly what I will do for you as your next Attorney General. I know how to use the law to make progress on some of the toughest issues facing us, from fighting racial discrimination to standing up for gender equality to protecting the dignity of work. I see this race as a job interview, and I ask you all to consider my background, my skills, my passion, and my unparalleled record in delivering meaningful change when you're deciding who you want to pick to be the next lawyer for the people of Massachusetts. I'm the only candidate in this race who has represented working people. I am the only practicing lawyer. I have won the jury trials. I have won the appeals that have helped shape our laws to better and more fairly serve the people. I've been an activist lawyer throughout my career, going back to my days as a women's rights organizer and activist, which I learned years ago working with the legendary Bella Abzug. I have been essentially working as a private attorney general throughout my career, and now I'm ready to take my service to the next level with the power of the state behind me. I am very proud to have received labor endorsements from a long and growing list of unions, and I'm the only candidate in the race to have received labor endorsements. I have been called the workers' champion, and now I'm ready to be Massachusetts champion. My name, again, is Shannon Liss Reardon. I'm running to be your next Attorney General. I humbly ask for your support. Please take a look at our website, shannonforag.com, for more background and to join our campaign. Thank you so much for having me tonight.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate having your time tonight.
Thank you.
And we will go to our next candidate for Attorney General, Quentin Paulfrey.
Good evening, Woburn Dems. It's Quentin Paulfrey. It's so nice to look around the Zoom, see so many friendly faces. I'm Quentin Paulfrey. I'm a Democrat running for Attorney General. As a former Assistant Attorney General, I've seen firsthand how much impact the AG office can have on people's lives. I was the first chief of the healthcare division at the time that we were implementing Massachusetts health reform law. So we worked really hard to make sure that everyone had access to high quality, affordable healthcare. I sued some big insurance companies that were taking advantage of Massachusetts residents during that critical time. I also had the great honor to serve in the White House under President Barack Obama. And on day one of the Biden-Harris administration, I joined as acting general counsel of commerce, led a team of several hundred lawyers, and helped to launch the Build Back Better agenda. After the cruelty of the Trump administration, it's been a real relief to have some sanity in the White House. But Washington is broken, and I think we'd be foolish to look to Congress for the solutions to the really big problems we face. Racial injustice, the climate crisis, attacks on our democracy and workers' rights, reproductive rights, LGBTQ rights, student loan debt, and gun violence. For the solutions to the really big challenges, I think we're going to need to look to the states, and Massachusetts needs to lead. And the AG, the Massachusetts AG, has been a really big part of that story. As the people's lawyer, the AG can bring consumer protection cases against predatory lenders, against scammers, against pharmaceutical companies like Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family who lied to us and brought us the opioid crisis. The AG can also bring much needed urgency to the fight against racial injustice. The murder of George Floyd and the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict are just the most recent reminders that there are two justice systems in America, and we imprison too many people for too long, for doing too little. Race has too much to do with who ends up in the urgency of the fight against the climate crisis, which is going to determine what kind of a life our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren lead. On the issue of workers' rights, we have rampant wage theft. We have Uber and Lyft trying to misclassify workers, take away their benefits. Roe versus Wade is hanging on by a thread in the Supreme Court and in states around the country. We've seen other AGs attacking trans kids and LGBTQ rights. On the issue of voting rights, I've spent a good deal of my career on this. I founded a national nonprofit organization called the Voter Protection Corps. And even though we saw an armed mob storm the Capitol while Congress was in the middle of trying to usher in a peaceful transition of power, we've seen that Mitch McConnell and Joe Manchin are going to block even sensible, basic voting rights reform. So if you think about where the solutions to that challenge are going to come from, it's going to come from the states, it's going to come from the grassroots. So thank you for being part of our democracy today. I would love to earn your support at the caucuses and in the convention. And I want to join with you to build a grassroots movement from Woburn to the Berkshires to take back our democracy and lead on the issues that affect us every day. I'm Quentin Paulfrey. I'd be honored to earn your support for AG. You can learn more about our campaign at quentinpaulfrey.com. And thank you for having me here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us from the road. We really appreciate you being able to spend the time with us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, thank you. We are going to go to another candidate for Lieutenant Governor. We have State Senator Eric Lesser with us.
Hey Jennifer, how are you? I think I'm one of the one of the last speakers, right? So I'll have mercy on everyone and try to go quick.
Well, there's still a few coming after you. So.
Okay, fair. Oh, even more reason to be to the point. So first, just want to thank everybody, and I just want to give a shout out to my friend Cindy Friedman, who I see on the call. My name is Eric Lesser. I'm a state senator from Longmeadow, and I represent two cities, Springfield and Chicopee, along with 7 communities up and down the Mass Pike in the Pioneer Valley. And I'm running for lieutenant governor, and I would just respectfully ask for everybody's consideration. I think my experience and my record are going to make me the right partner to our next governor, because at the end of the day, that's the job of lieutenant governor. It's to be the partner to the governor and to make sure that the governor's agenda is being implemented and our democratic values are being implemented from the corner office. At the height of the pandemic back in 2020, when our businesses were shut, and I see Rep. Haggerty on, a few others, and certainly Cindy was a big part of this, I led the effort to get hundreds of millions of dollars in small business relief out to our smallest businesses. We wrote into that legislation that the money first had to go to minority-owned businesses, immigrant-owned businesses, and those in our gateway cities. We helped keep open hundreds of dry cleaners, bodegas, community restaurants, nail salons, barbershops, home daycare centers in every corner of our state. At the height of the opioid crisis, which I know has ravaged Woburn as it has my community, I worked to getting Narcan bulk purchasing programs set up. Woburn actually participates in this program, brought the price of Narcan down by more than 2/3, getting it into the hands of police officers, firefighters, school nurses, and other human service and social workers. We helped save hundreds of lives. And for the last 8 years, I've been working on an issue that a lot of people dismissed when we first started talking about it, but now is quite literally part of President Biden's infrastructure agenda, which is connecting our state by east-west high-speed rail from Pittsfield to Boston. Why should Woburn care about this? Well, first of all, it would be the biggest greenhouse gas reduction project in our state's history, taking thousands of cars off the road. It would also create thousands of units of new housing, transit-oriented development next to rail lines that people can walk to and that is clean, and that will help reduce the price of housing in Woburn too, and in communities around our state. And it will help create thousands and thousands of good, high-paying jobs in areas of our state that have been left out of Boston's life sciences and high-tech boom. So there's a lot more to get into. At some point, we'd love to talk to everyone about the Governor's Council. As Lieutenant Governor, you chair the Governor's Council. I worked on 2 Supreme Court nominations when I worked for President Obama for Elena Kagan and Sonia Sotomayor. I'd prioritize diversity on our judiciary and prioritize more public defenders and public interest lawyers as judges as well. But I hope everyone will give me some consideration as you caucus today or as you begin to caucus in the weeks ahead, and certainly leading up to the convention in June. And thank you for the time, Jennifer, and thank you for everybody's attention. I know you've got a lot of candidates. I'll share a little bit more information about myself in the chat. If people want to learn more, reach out to me or sign up for some more information and updates.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you for spending the time with us tonight. We
Absolutely.
really appreciate seeing you and hope we'll see you in person in Woburn sometime soon.
Amen. Good luck getting through it all.
Thank you. We will now go to our first candidate for auditor, State Senator Diana DiZoglio.
Oh, sorry. I think I was off mute and I've just put myself on it. Hi, Madam Chair.
Hello.
Great to see you. Hi, Carol. Hi, friends. I see a lot of folks on this call. Great to see you all again virtually. Can't wait to see you all again in person, hopefully at another cookout at Jen's house or somebody else's house. It's great to be here with you. I first wanted to start by saying thanks for all that you do for Democrats up and down the ballot. We can't do anything that we do without you. So thanks so much for your support. For everyone that's running, no matter who you're supporting, we do appreciate it. And I do want to give a shout out to our legislative delegation that's on the call for all that they do on your behalf up at the State House and efforts for your community. I do see also Senator Friedman on the call as well. I want to give her a shout out as well for the great work that she does along with her staff and other staffers from the State House. My name is Diana DiZoglio. I'm a state senator from the Merrimack Valley. A little bit about myself. I was born to a 17-year-old single mom in Methuen. Many of you know my story. I grew up housing insecure and waitressed and cleaned houses to make my way through local community college, Middlesex, actually, where I was able to obtain an associate's degree that was affordable thanks to our Democratic legislature's investments in families like mine. I then ended up earning a seat at Wellesley College, where I was so grateful to attend, but I was only able to attend because of a full financial scholarship. And I think it's important to mention that because it really was due to those financial investments that others had made into my future success that I was able to actually see some success. And knowing that is what inspired to give back to my community in whatever way I could. And since I couldn't do so financially, I decided to go into community service. I worked at various nonprofit centers focused on underserved youth mostly to uplift families in the communities I grew up in. And that work eventually led me to a position at the State House working in the House of Representatives. During my time working at the State House, I learned about all of the great things our state government can do, from investing in early education to fighting for a robust transportation system to working to make healthcare accessible to all. But I also, during my time there, learned about the flip side of how state government can, when there's no accountability. During my time on Beacon Hill as a legislative aide, I was sexually harassed there and then subsequently dismissed because of that harassment. And in order to collect a standard severance package upon my departure, I was required to sign a taxpayer-funded non-disclosure agreement that prevented me from telling anyone about what I had seen and witnessed behind those closed doors up on Beacon Hill amongst Beacon Hill's most powerful politicians. But I didn't let them get rid of me or keep me quiet. I didn't leave state government like they told me to do. I instead decided to run for state rep myself. And a little over a year later, made my way back into that same chamber as the youngest woman serving in the House of Representatives at the time. And friends, when I got elected, you just heard my story. Look, I took that responsibility very seriously. I knew it was incumbent upon me to use what I had learned through my experiences to help and fight for other working families in our communities who, like my family was, and maybe for different reasons, but for who, like my family was, have either been ignored or dismissed or disenfranchised by a system and state government that's just not working for all families in Massachusetts the way that it could and the way that it should. I took on the Beacon Hill establishment and fought for accessibility, diversity, equity, transparency, and accountability. I fought to ban the use of those taxpayer-funded NDAs so that victims of harassment, discrimination, and abuse can be free to speak out about predatory practices that continue to protect the powerful. I later took that same passion to the state Senate, where I continue to fight hard on your behalf, holding our government accountable. When the governor diverted vaccines away from our local communities and our elderly, disabled, immunocompromised, and those without transportation suffered as a result, I stood up and demanded equity and accountability from the governor, and I called for an investigation into the millions of taxpayer dollars he spent on no-bid contracts with his friends in the private sector instead of reinvesting those dollars into our local communities where families could get equitable access. When we found out that the governor had told falsehoods about what really caused the Holyoke Soldiers Home tragedy, I stood up and called for an investigation and oversight hearing demanding Governor Baker come back before us under oath and that we use our subpoena authority to get to the bottom of what really happened so the families of those who lost loved ones could see some justice. Just this past week, I've called for oversight hearings regarding the RMV scandal that's taken place in the city of Brockton, where we have seen potentially thousands of licenses given out without having, with folks having not taken a road test. These types of things deserve, somebody who's going to stand up and call out what's happening. As state auditor, I won't need to keep calling for audits and demanding investigations. I'll be able to take my nearly 10 years of fighting for accountability and transparency, and I will investigate and I will audit these matters and much, much more to hold the administration accountable and to shine a light in the dark areas of our state government. I don't need to tell anybody on this call this. We know sunlight is the best disinfectant. But for as forward thinking as we are here in Massachusetts, we continue to be ranked by good government groups as the least transparent state government in the entire nation. We can do better, but only when we have leaders who are willing to stand up on behalf of the working families in our communities. I have that proven track record of standing up for working families, and I will continue to do that good work alongside of you as your next state auditor. But I can't do it without your support. So I respectfully and humbly ask for your support in your vote at convention and subsequently in the Democratic primary. And I do thank you for all you do to elect Democrats. I'm going to put a link to my social justice and equity audit plan in the chat so you can go check it out. I'll also put my cell phone in the chat so you can feel free to call me afterwards to discuss if you'd like to add anything to that. It's a live document, so we look forward to working with you to make plans moving forward. And again, thanks so much for having me here tonight for all that you do.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us from the road. I know it's a busy season for everybody. So we appreciate
it's a great time. It's a great time.
For a couple minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, wonderful. Well, I think potentially a couple of our upcoming candidates might not have joined us yet. So I'm going to ask if candidate for Lieutenant Governor, State Representative Dr. Tammy Gouveia.
She is not here yet. I'm a representative of her campaign. I'll check in and see what time she's expecting to be here.
Okay, wonderful. Just message Andrew Lipset if you would.
Perfect. Thank you all so much for your patience.
Great. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to take a moment from our statewide candidates running, and I would like to introduce Katrina. Were you ready to go with us? Katrina works with our Congresswoman Catherine Clark, who of course is not able to be with us tonight because of the State of the Union. But we're really glad that Katrina can spend some time with us tonight. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. And it's great to be here. Good evening, Woburn. Thank you so much for having me. And again, just thanks, Jennifer, for all your work coordinating this event. Again, I'm Katrina. I'm with Congresswoman Catherine Clark's campaign. And I will try to keep this really quick. But I just want to say, we've been so grateful to be able to count on, all of your support in the past and hope that we can continue to do that for the Congresswoman's reelection heading into the midterms. You all know how much is at stake this year, and Team Clark is focusing on supporting races up and down the ballot, both in Massachusetts and for Democrats across the country, so that we can hold the House majority and continue to deliver on the American people's agenda, which I know we'll be thinking about a lot tonight, of good jobs, lower costs, and a fair shot for all. I'm going to share some information in the chat to sign up to stay in touch with our campaign. And I know that hopefully we'll see a lot of you in April for signature collection, and appreciate any support that you all can offer with that too. And thanks again. And we will hopefully see you on the campaign trail.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us tonight. And thank you also for jumping in a little bit earlier than anticipated. We are going to jump forward to Lieutenant Governor candidate Brett Barrow.
Hi, everybody. My name is
welcome.
Brett. Thank you. Thank you for having me. So my name is Brett Barrow, and I am a candidate for Lieutenant Governor, and I'm running for a reason. My background is distinctly different from all the other candidates, and I think I bring something new and different to the State House. And that comes from working directly on many of the areas that are critical to Massachusetts. I was a small business owner for 22 years in Orange, Massachusetts, which is one of our forgotten towns and gateway cities. And small business is so critical to the economic revitalization of those areas. It's 45% of our workforce. And on top of that, in the critical areas, it's even a greater percentage. And so that is an important area for us to focus on. I'm the son of first-generation college students. My wife is an occupational therapist in one of the Metro West school districts. And I am on the faculty of Babson College. So I know that education is a critical calling card for Massachusetts. And I also know that 50% of all teachers are thinking about resigning because they're burned out from COVID. We need to do a better job because education is the calling card for Massachusetts. I served on the board of the largest environmental testing corporation in North America, but also an opportunity for Massachusetts. Our companies and frankly, our political leaders accountable for ensuring that we make progress. I've served on the board of the finance committee at my local town government at the town of Carlisle. And I'm somebody who's had both COVID and cancer personally in 2021. So I know that healthcare should be a basic human right available to all. And that's not just for altruistic reasons. When I ran my small business, my employer healthcare coverage for the employees never went up less than 20% a year, and that's unsustainable. Finally, my parents, my kids, and my grandkids all live in Massachusetts, and I can clearly see the generational divides that are opening up in the Commonwealth. Seniors on fixed incomes are struggling to stay in the state, and younger families are looking for housing that's affordable and access to quality daycare. I believe our ticket will be stronger when the Lieutenant Governor's skills and capabilities complement rather than duplicate those of the governor. I believe this election is about building the new foundation for our future. And I believe that I can help make that ticket stronger from the experience and skills that I bring to the ticket. My name's Brett Barrow. I'm running for Lieutenant Governor. I would appreciate your support at the caucus, at the convention, and on through to the primary election. And thank you for having me tonight. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining the Woburn Democrats and doing it from the road. We really appreciate you getting us in tonight. Thank you so much.
No problem. Happy to be here. Thank you.
All right. We will go to our second candidate for auditor, Chris Dempsey, I believe, has joined us.
Hey, Woburn Dems, it's Chris Dempsey, candidate for state auditor. It's so great to be with you all tonight. I'm running to be your next state auditor because I've seen, as the son of public school teachers, that my parents were digging into their own pockets to pay for school supplies for their students. As we know, public school teachers across the Commonwealth still do to this day. I'm running because in a state where we are proud of so many firsts, we've fallen behind on everything from transportation to broadband access to racial equality. And I'm running because I've seen that when decisions in state government are made with a lack of public accountability, that those decisions benefit people who are connected to Beacon Hill, but they don't benefit families like mine and like yours and the people we've met on this campaign trail from Pittsfield to Provincetown. I'm running to be your next chief accountability officer, and I have the background and the experience and the toughness to do that job for you. I served as Assistant Secretary of Transportation for Governor Deval Patrick. I'm the only candidate in this race with executive branch experience, which is the focus of the job. And I'm proud to share with you that Governor Patrick has made a max contribution to our campaign, his first max contribution to any candidate running for office in Massachusetts in over a decade. But I've also worked outside of state government to protect the public interest. In 2015, some of the most powerful businessmen in Massachusetts got together and decided that they wanted to put together a plan for the Boston 2024 Olympics. Now, their plan, when you read the fine print, required that all of us as state taxpayers cover 100% of Olympic cost overruns. That didn't sound right to me. It didn't sound like the right priority for our tax dollars, and we have so many other needs across state government. So I created a group called No Boston Olympics in a living room. And we got outspent on that campaign 1,500 to 1. But we were successful because we built a grassroots effort and we had the facts and the data on our side. And my takeaway from that effort is when you put good information in front of the people of Massachusetts, we tend to make smart decisions. We get things right. And that's the job of the state auditor, to dig into the executive branch to figure out what's working and what's not working and how things need to change, and to put that information back forth in front of the people of Massachusetts so we can build a stronger Commonwealth together. As state auditor, I'll make the office a national leader on climate by making it the first in the country to incorporate carbon accounting into our audits of state agencies. We'll also tackle tough issues like reform of the state police. I honor the service of the troopers who are on the front lines, but they deserve to work for an agency that they can be proud of and that we as taxpayers and residents can be proud of and can trust. I live on the first floor of a triple decker with my amazing fiance, Anna. And Anna and I are looking forward to starting a family together. We want that to be in a Massachusetts that is the best that it can be. And that means making state government the best that it can be by making it more transparent, more accountable, more efficient, and more fair. I ask you to join us in this grassroots campaign. I thank you so much for taking your evening to hear from candidates and learn more about the Democratic Party process. And I know many of you will be participating in the upcoming caucus. Thank you for doing that. Again, I'm Chris Dempsey, candidate for state auditor, and I ask for your support. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Chris. We really appreciate your time tonight. And we're glad that we were able to see you in person in Woburn previously, but that you were able to join us tonight with all the candidates.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. All right, we are now going to go to our last candidate for Lieutenant Governor, State Representative Dr. Tammy Gouveia.
Great. Thank you so much, Jennifer. It's great to be here with all of you, see some familiar faces. I was with you at your meeting a little while back. I'm State Representative Dr. Tammy Gouveia. I'm running for Lieutenant Governor because I believe we deserve leaders who are putting the health, well-being, and dignity of every resident at the heart of decision-making. And I believe that in a state that is as rich in resources and history and culture and connectedness, that there's no reason why any person, any community, any region of our state should be left behind. I grew up in the city of Lowell. My grandfather was in the Carpenters Union. That put my family on solid economic footing. It meant that my parents were able to buy a 2-family home. They rented out the upstairs apartment to stretch their wages, and it allowed us to weather some of the economic storms of the 70s and 80s. That was not the case for far too many of my neighbors, classmates, and dear friends whose families really struggled with the impacts of intergenerational poverty, systemic racism, and xenophobia. And it was being adjacent to those experiences that instilled in me a deep sense of empathy and a desire to give back to my community. It's why I've been a public health social worker for the last 25 years, leading on so many issues that impact families all across the Commonwealth, including the opioid crisis, forming the Lowell Roundtable on Substance Abuse Prevention in 2007, which secured millions of dollars to invest in our young people and to increase access to treatment. Also did a work on environmental justice as it relates to the housing stock that we have in the city of Lowell. As a state representative, I have stood up for our working families. I have stood with our working families. I have stood up for LGBTQ rights, and I have stood up for racial justice. I've passed legislation related to greening our transportation system and making it more affordable and more reliable for our working families. I passed legislation that made it into the roadmap bill to address housing and buildings as a source of greenhouse gas emissions so we can tackle the climate crisis. And I passed harm reduction policies to support folks who are struggling with substance use disorder. I've been a single parent for the last 14 years. And so a lot of the financial struggles that our families are facing every single day because of COVID, and that far too many of our working class families, our families of color, and immigrant families have been facing for decades, are ones that I experienced. After 2008 recession, I became unemployed. And so I know what it's like to navigate our bureaucratic unemployment system. I know what it's like to go to bed not knowing what the next day would bring, what's going to happen if my car breaks down, how do I stretch my $60 weekly grocery budget to put food on the table for myself and my 2 kids, and how do I pay Paul, steal from Peter to pay Paul because I was underinsured and carried medical debt, like so many of us probably in this Zoom, and far too many of our gig workers because they face underinsurance. So as your next Lieutenant Governor, I commit to taking my experiences as a doctor of public health, as a single parent, and as a policymaker to the corner office to put the health, well-being, and dignity of every resident at the heart of decision-making as we continue to navigate our response and recovery to COVID-19 to make sure that it is just and equitable, to make sure that we are not only investing in housing that is affordable, but that it's also humane and fit for human habitation, because our housing stock here in Massachusetts is relatively old and needs some major investments. Making sure that every person in our state who needs mental health care treatment, needs group therapy, or some other form of support is able to access it locally. And making sure that we are living up to the investments to our children, to invest in quality, equitable funding for our schools, and that we are addressing the child care crisis that we are facing, well, even before COVID hit, but certainly COVID has exacerbated it. And then, of course, making sure that we are taking up racial justice and economic justice as we move towards implementing robust, transformative policies to address the climate crisis. We hope that you will join us in our efforts to get to the corner office, electing not only one woman to the corner office, but 2 women, which no state has ever achieved that, broken down that barrier. So we hope you'll join us in electing a doctor of public health, a social worker, and a single parent. We hope that you will caucus with us. We hope that you will support us at the convention and be with us through the election. I look forward to seeing you all again in the near future and hopefully being in person soon. I'm Tammy Govea, candidate for Lieutenant Governor. Thank you so much for everything you do. And thank you for staying so late into the evening on whatever day it is, Tuesday. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you joining us. I know you were able to spend some time with us in the fall, but great to have you back with us again. So that actually wraps up our list of statewide candidates. And I'd like to go now into our candidates that are running just more in our geographic area. I'd like to now introduce our state senator, Cindy Friedman.
Hi, Jennifer. Hi, everybody in Woburn. Thanks so much for hanging on so long. I'm going to be incredibly brief. I just want to thank you all for your incredible support over the last several years. You've been amazing. And I also would be remiss in not saying how incredibly lucky Woburn is to have such a wonderful delegation, especially your two reps, Rich and Michelle. And we are a great team. We look forward to, if I can speak for them, working together in the next couple of years. I am thrilled to be your senator and happy to continue the work and hope that I have your support. And anybody who wants to help with nomination papers, just let us know. We'll be happy to, we'll all three of us will be happy to give you some. So thanks so much. And thanks for being part of the process. And I will hopefully see you guys very soon.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And actually on nomination papers, we'll be gathering in Woburn on April 9th. And I hope to have all of the candidates that have joined us today represented for signing nomination papers, because it's usually a really fun part of our caucus when we get together in February. And we're missing out doing a virtual caucus this year. So it'll be great to have that opportunity to see everybody and get Woburn represented on those nomination papers. So I wonder now, I think I will go to our state representative, Richard Haggerty.
Thanks, Jennifer, and thanks everybody for being here tonight. It's a great lineup we've had. I will be incredibly brief as well, and not to echo the exact same sentiments, but as Senator Friedman said, we're really fortunate to have a great delegation of Woburn. I'm lucky to work with two terrific partners up on Beacon Hill. I'm also grateful tonight to have my legislative aide. I want to give a shout out to Anthony Langone, who's doing terrific work on the Hill for us and every day, representing Woburn and working with constituents. So it's going to be exciting next few years. And I can just tell you that I'm going to continue to stand up for economic opportunity across our state, economic growth. It's a big part of everything we do. We recognize that the more we grow our economy, the more we can invest in everything from education to transportation to climate. In my first term as state rep, I was proud to serve in the Education Committee and help with the Student Opportunity Act, of course, and get that over the goal line. In my second term, I've been thrilled to be able to serve on the Telecommunications, Utilities, and Energy Committee to be able to work and push out climate bills, including the roadmap right after the first of the year last year, of course. And we're working to send out another climate bill and workforce bill this Thursday in the House. So we're excited to get that out. And we're going to continue to stay the course. So happy to continue to work for our communities and always willing to listen and learn. So if you notice any bags under my eyes, Healey and I just had a baby a few weeks ago. So we've been sleeping rather not so much, but Harper's doing great. I know a lot of folks were asking, so I appreciate all the support and love from the community. So best wishes, everyone. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rich, and congratulations again. That's really, really fantastic for you and Healey. So another constituent for Woburn, another Democratic committee member in the future. All right, we are going to go to our other state representative on the other side of Woburn, as Rich covers Reading and part of Woburn, and Michelle Ciccolo represents Woburn and part of Lexington, and I believe part of Winchester now. So Michelle, if you'd like to join us now.
Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you everyone for being on this call and sticking it out so long. And I'm going to just give it right back to my two colleagues who are terrific teammates, and I appreciate their shout outs as well. It is really my privilege to serve the people of Woburn and wards 1 and 7, and you all are becoming like family. It's so nice to see all of you, and I'm looking forward to the time when we can be together, and we'll be there at your April meeting, which will be really a breath of fresh air to see everyone. So I'm just about the last speaker of the evening, and you've just heard all these dynamic, fantastic, charismatic candidates with really wonderfully developed speeches, and you don't need to hear another speech from me. All I will say is that I am passionate about this work. It is critical and important work. It is a privilege to do it. And I will continue to fight for the things that I know that we all care about so deeply, like education and the environment, social equity, transportation, public health. These are things that matter in everyone's everyday life, and they're things that need deliberate, from a legislative perspective, deliberate action and very careful focus, right? It's different than the roles that you've heard from all the statewide candidates. As legislators, we need to push the ball and push the ball and push the ball up the hill, or push the rock up the hill. And eventually we're able to make big changes. And we're seeing some exciting policies that we've been able to pass with the Student Opportunity Act last session, with this session, the climate bill that others have mentioned, and we're about to do a wind energy bill this week. We did last week the Moving Families Forward bill in the House, which is the driver's license bill, incredibly important bill for immigrants who need to be able to get to work. We are continuing to do the people's work, and I look forward to having the privilege to continue to serve folks in Woburn. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, really, for all you do for Woburn, and then for being with us tonight. And we will go to our last candidate with us tonight, Middlesex District Attorney Marion Ryan, who I'm also going to plug is shares an alma mater with me. So I'm very glad to welcome an Emmanuel College alumna to join us tonight too.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And, you know, I know you've been being a really good audience tonight and listening to lots of people. And I'll start by just talking about one of the things that I think is so important about this work. And I love doing this and doing it really in three categories that I'm going to talk about. But I'll start with what I usually talk about last, will be first, because I think you'll appreciate this. You know, we talk all the time about wanting to make certain that we are protecting young people from getting involved in the criminal justice system. But there always aren't practical ways to do that. And you've all been sitting here and listening to people talk and being a great audience. And I ask you to think about how well you'd be able to do that if you had a toothache right now. And we all know that if you have a toothache, you can't think about anything else. And the research shows us that kids who get disciplined in school, over 80% of them have had no oral health care. So their teeth are aching. They're not eating well, they're not sleeping well, they're not behaving well in school. They get disciplined, they fall behind in school, eventually they're not in school. And we all know that a 7th or 8th grade education is not the way forward right now. So one of the things that we've done to be very clear about the innovative work that we're doing is to partner with a number of colleges and universities and the dental schools to begin a program we've rolled out in 3 communities where we're providing free in-school oral health care for kids who can't afford it. That's how you change the trajectory of people's lives. You make them healthier, you make them better, and you make them able to get an education. That's one piece of what we're doing. The second is thinking about our core mission, which is the public safety. And I want to talk about 2 specific ways we're doing that. One is around our cold or our uncharged cases. You know, we make a commitment to families when something happens that we will never give up. And it's important that we keep that promise. We've committed an enormous amount of resources to that. And you may have seen in the last few months, we were able to charge a perpetrator in a 30-year-old murder of a 16-year-old girl. And we were able to recover from Lowell the human remains in the car of a 17-year-old girl who'd been missing for 40 years. And those of you who are parents, if you think about 40 years of not knowing where your child was, that's why that's so important. And during the pandemic, we've seen 2 kinds of crimes increase. Everything else has gone down. What has gone up are gun crimes, particularly committed with what are referred to as ghost guns, which if you haven't heard that term, they are terrifying guns because they are completely unregulated, unregistered, and untraceable. And they are literally bought on the internet. You buy 80% of the gun, you make the other 20% in a 3D printer. So we have 13-year-old kids making the parts for those guns and then taking them out and using them on the street. It's a way to get around Massachusetts gun laws. It should not be allowed. We filed a bill to address that and to punish appropriately that kind of conduct. In addition, we're also looking at ways that we can lessen the impact of the criminal justice system on certain communities. So we've done two important things around that. We've created a first in the nation position of Director of Racial Justice Initiatives to help us do everything in our office, from hiring to making sentencing recommendations with a racial equity lens. And the second is, again, a very practical response. You heard Representative Ciccolo talk about the driver's license bill. Well, another piece of business with the Registry of Motor Vehicles is that, unlike any other bill that you might have, if you owe money to the Registry of Motor Vehicles, you must pay it in full. You can't set up a payment plan. This bill would require the registry to create a payment plan that, once you've established a payment history, would allow you to get your driver's license back. Because otherwise, what we've created is a system where people are driving, they don't have a license, they get stopped, they have an accident, they rack up more fines, and they then are in a hole that they can never recover from. So that's a practical way of lessening the impact. So these are just, I know I've given you a lot of information. It's the end of the night, and I appreciate you allowing me to have time to chat, but I love doing this work. I think that we are making incredible strides, both around public safety and around being innovative in what we do. So I ask for your support in running for re-election to continue to do this work. And thank you so much for giving me a chance to chat. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. And that I want to say to everyone who's joined us tonight, thank you so much for sharing your time with all of these candidates. That was 19 candidates, and we did it under time, which you can tell it's caucus season because they've been busy talking to so many people that they're making it really quick. But really appreciate that we had so many on our committee and so many friends in the community join us today, so that we can really show that Woburn has a strong interest in what's going on. And like some of the candidates tonight said, Massachusetts, we're in a really special spot where we really understand how important our democracy is, and we're really fighting for it. And so it's really important to remember that these are the Democrats that are willing to jump into the fight. And so anything that you can do to support them, whether it's making a contribution to their campaign, volunteering, it's a time of year to collect signatures for the candidates. So to do what you can to make sure that we have the right people working in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to represent you. I'd just like to take a quick moment as we wrap up to remind you that this is a pre-caucus event to meet these candidates, and we are having our caucuses on Saturday. You can visit our website, woburndems.org, and you'll find the information to register for our caucuses. We are running the caucuses for wards 1, 2, 3, and 6 at 9:30 a.m. and wards 4, 5, and 7 at 12:30 p.m. We really appreciate it if you're going to be coming to the caucus. Please register in advance, because we're going to be checking people in, and it's just a bit of a process to do it in a virtual format. So we really appreciate everybody's letting us know ahead of time that you're going to be coming to the caucus. And I said it last summer when we had a virtual caucus, but I'm going to say it again. I do hope that this is the last time we have a virtual caucus and that we can meet together in person the next time. So again, visit woburndems.org for information about the caucuses. You can always email us at woburndems@gmail.com with any questions about what we're doing in Woburn and how we're organizing and what kind of things we're up to. And our next meeting is going to be like I indicated, after our caucuses, it's going to be on Saturday, April 9th, and we'll meet together in person at the American Legion. I know we've got several new people to Woburn that have expressed interest in joining our ward committees. So we'll have ward meetings to invite new members to join our committees at that time. But it'll also be an opportunity for candidates to join us and get their nomination papers signed so that we can show that Woburn, again, is very engaged and involved in the process. I'd like to thank you all for joining us tonight. And we'll see you all soon, I hope.